Sometimes the smallest thing a person gives up reveals the biggest love they carry inside. The bakery lights were still glowing brightly inside the grocery store, but for one mother, that little birthday cake behind the glass felt farther away than anything she had ever wanted. She stood there quietly, holding a small white cake box in her hands. She was simply a mother trying to make sure her daughter felt loved. That was what the billionaire CEO could not understand. He had spent years surrounded by people who wanted something from him. Opportunities, connections, money. But this woman wanted nothing. She had no idea who he was. She had no reason to impress him. She had simply shown kindness in a moment when no one was watching. And somehow that meant more than anything he had seen in years. The CEO quietly followed the movement of the woman disappearing into another aisle. A small birthday cake remained behind on the shelf. A simple choice had been made. A moment had passed. Or at least that was what everyone thought. Because sometimes life changes in the quietest moments. And sometimes the person watching from a distance is the one whose heart changes first. The hardest choices are often the ones nobody sees. Long after the grocery store lights had dimmed, the single mom returned to the small apartment she called home. It was not a place filled with expensive decorations or perfect furniture, but it was warm. It carried the little signs of a life built with love. A child's drawings covered part of the refrigerator. A small backpack rested near the door. Family photographs smiled from simple frames on the wall. This was her world. And to her daughter it was everything. She placed the groceries on the kitchen counter and quietly checked the clock. Only a few days remained until her daughter's birthday. She had promised herself that this year would feel special. Not because of a big celebration. Not because of an expensive gift, but because every child deserves to feel remembered. The single mom opened a small envelope where she kept her carefully planned budget. She counted what she had saved, then looked at the list of things her daughter needed. School supplies, household items, a few groceries for the week. She smiled softly. The decision had already been made. Her daughter would always come first. The next morning she woke up before sunrise. The apartment was quiet. For a few peaceful minutes, she stood near her daughter's bedroom door, watching her sleep. She saw the little girl holding a favorite stuffed animal, completely unaware of the worries her mother carried. That was the reason she kept going. That was the reason she never complained. The single mom made breakfast, prepared lunch, and started another busy day. To everyone else it looked ordinary. But ordinary moments often hold extraordinary love. Across the city, the billionaire CEO began his morning in a completely different world. His office stood high above the streets, surrounded by glass walls and endless views. Assistants waited for meetings. Phones kept ringing. Important decisions needed his attention. Everything around him represented success. But something felt different after the night before. The image of that mother standing in front of the birthday cake kept returning to his mind. He could not explain why. He had seen countless people make difficult decisions. He had watched negotiations worth millions of dollars. He had witnessed ambition, competition, and achievement. But he had never forgotten a quiet moment in a grocery store. Because there was something honest about it. The woman had no idea anyone was watching. She was not trying to prove anything. She was simply loving her daughter in the only way she knew how. The CEO looked out at the city below. For the first time in a long while, he wondered about the stories behind the people passing by. Every person carried something unseen. Every smile had a reason. Every sacrifice had a story. Meanwhile, the single mom continued through her day, unaware that a stranger had noticed the one thing she thought nobody saw. Her kindness, her patience, her love. And somewhere between a grocery store aisle and a quiet moment of reflection, two completely different lives had begun moving toward the same unexpected path. The CEO did not know what would happen next. The single mom did not know her simple choice had already left a mark. But some moments do not end when they happen. They begin. Some people spend their whole lives searching for something money cannot provide. The billionaire CEO had spent years building a world where everything had a price. Success, recognition, comfort. Almost anything could be arranged with the right resources. But one simple moment in a grocery store had created a question he could not ignore. Why had a stranger choosing a small sacrifice affected him more than any major achievement? The answer was somewhere in the story he did not know yet, and he wanted to understand it. The next afternoon, the CEO returned to the same grocery store. He told himself it was only curiosity, a simple question, nothing more. But deep down, he knew there was another reason. He wanted to see if the kindness he noticed was real, or if it was only a moment that appeared meaningful because he happened to be watching. The store was busy. Families moved through the aisles. Employees organized shelves. Children laughed near the front entrance. Life continued as usual. Then he saw her. The single mom was standing near the grocery section, comparing prices carefully. She held a small list in one hand and a basket in the other. She moved slowly, making thoughtful choices. Not because she was uncertain, because every choice mattered. The CEO watched from a distance. He noticed something different this time. She was not focused on what she could not afford. She was focused on what she could provide. A few minutes later, her daughter called her through a video message. The mother's entire expression changed. The tiredness on her face disappeared. A warm smile appeared instantly. She asked about her daughter's day, listened carefully, and laughed at a small story the child shared. The CEO stood quietly nearby. He had attended expensive events where people smiled for cameras. He had sat in rooms filled with influential people. But this simple conversation felt more genuine than anything he had seen in a long time. When the call ended, the single mom placed her phone away and continued shopping. She never noticed the man watching. She never noticed his expensive suit or his powerful reputation. To her, he was just another person in the store. And somehow that made the moment even more meaningful. Later, as she reached the checkout line, the CEO found himself standing a few places behind her. He saw her carefully organize her groceries. He saw her check the total before paying. Then he saw the relief in her eyes when everything fit within her budget. It was a small victory, one that most people would never celebrate. But she did, because for a mother, providing even the smallest comfort for her child could feel like the greatest achievement in the world. The CEO walked out of the store after her. For a moment, he considered introducing himself. He considered offering help, but he stopped. Something inside him said this woman did not need someone to save her. She needed someone to respect her. That realization stayed with him, because for the first time in years, someone had reminded him that value was not measured by what a person owned. It was measured by what a person was willing to give. And the woman who had quietly placed a birthday cake back on a shelf had unknowingly given him something far more important. A reason to look beyond himself. A reason to remember what truly mattered. The easiest thing to offer is money. The hardest thing to offer is respect. The billionaire CEO had spent most of his life solving problems with resources. When something needed to be fixed, he found a solution. When a door needed to open, he had the connections to open it. But the single mom had shown him something different. She did not need a solution. She needed to be seen. That thought stayed with him long after he left the grocery store. The next few days passed, but the memory remained. The way she looked at the birthday cake. The way she quietly accepted disappointment. The way she smiled during that phone call with her daughter. As if nothing in the world mattered more than that little voice on the other end. The CEO had met many people who wanted to be noticed. But she was different. She was doing everything she could to make sure someone else felt noticed. One afternoon, their paths crossed again. This time it was not from a distance. The single mom was leaving a small community event with her daughter when she noticed a man holding the door open for them. It was him, the same stranger from the grocery store. She recognized him, but she did not know his name. She simply offered a polite smile. "Thank you." 2 simple words. Nothing more. But the CEO paused, because she said them without hesitation, without curiosity, and without any expectation. She treated him like a person, not a title, not a bank account, just a person. "That was a long time ago," he said gently, referring to the grocery store. The single mom looked confused for a moment. Then she remembered. The cake. Her expression changed slightly. A little embarrassed, she looked away. "I was just making a choice," she said. The CEO watched her carefully. Most people would have explained. Most people would have talked about their struggles. But she did not. She did not want anyone to feel sorry for her. That was when he understood something important. Her strength was not that she never faced difficulties. Her strength was that difficulties never changed the way she treated people. The CEO looked at her daughter, who was holding her mother's hand and smiling. There was a quiet happiness between them. Something simple. Something real. And for a moment he wondered when he had stopped noticing things like that. When had success become more important than connection? When had his days become filled with achievements but empty of moments that truly mattered? The single mom noticed his thoughtful expression. "Are you okay?" she asked. The question surprised him. She was asking about him. A stranger. Someone she barely knew. And somehow, that small act of concern affected him more than any compliment he had received. "I am," he answered. Then after a short pause he added, "I think I just remembered something I forgot." She smiled politely, not understanding what he meant. But he did. He had forgotten that kindness did not need an audience. That generosity did not always come from wealth. And that the people with the least sometimes had the most to give. As they walked in different directions, the CEO looked back one more time. The single mom continued holding her daughter's hand, walking through an ordinary afternoon. She had no idea that her quiet choices were changing someone else's life. And the man who had everything was beginning to realize the greatest things in life were often the ones nobody could buy. The most valuable lessons often come from the people who never try to teach us anything. The billionaire CEO had spent years surrounded by advice, experts, consultants, people who carefully chose every word around him because of his position. But the single mom never changed the way she spoke to him. She did not know his history. She did not care about his success. She simply saw a person. And that was something he had not experienced in a very long time. Days passed after their unexpected conversation. Yet he found himself thinking about her more often than he expected. Not because of curiosity alone, because her life represented something completely different from his own. The CEO lived in a world where convenience was everywhere. If he needed something, he could have it delivered. If he wanted something, he could purchase it. But the single mom had shown him the meaning of choosing what truly mattered. One evening, he found himself walking through the same grocery store again. He did not know why he came. Maybe he was hoping to understand the feeling that had followed him since that night. Maybe he wanted to see if the kindness he noticed was still there. And then he saw her. The single mom stood near the same bakery section. For a brief moment, he remembered the cake sitting on the shelf, the quiet decision, the silent sacrifice. But this time he noticed something else. She was smiling. She was helping an elderly customer reach an item from a higher shelf. It was a small gesture. A few seconds of her time. Nothing that would appear important to anyone watching. But that was exactly who she was. She gave kindness without waiting for recognition. The CEO watched as she continued shopping. She did not know he was nearby. She was not performing for anyone. Her compassion was simply part of who she was. Later, when they crossed paths near the checkout area, he finally spoke. "Hello again." The single mom turned and smiled. She recognized him immediately. "It is you," she said. Her voice carried surprise, but not excitement over his status. Only simple recognition. They talked for a few minutes. Nothing complicated. No business. No discussions about money. Just two people sharing a normal conversation. The CEO asked about her daughter. The single mom's face immediately softened. "She is everything to me," she said. For simple words. But they carried years of love, responsibility, and sacrifice. The CEO looked at her carefully. He had built companies. He had created opportunities. He had achieved things many people only dreamed about. Yet standing there, listening to a mother speak about her child, he felt something he could not measure. Peace. The single mom noticed his thoughtful expression. "You seem different today," she said. He smiled slightly. "Maybe I am." She did not ask why. She did not push. She simply accepted his answer. And that small moment reminded him again why she was different. She never tried to change people. She never demanded explanations. She simply offered kindness. As they separated, the CEO looked at the grocery bag in her hand. Inside were ordinary things. Small things. The things that made up an ordinary life. But now he understood. Ordinary did not mean insignificant. Sometimes the smallest moments carried the deepest meaning. And without realizing it, the single mom had already changed the way he saw the world. She had not given him money. She had not given him advice. She had given him something much rarer, a reason to remember the person he wanted to become. The greatest changes in life rarely happen all at once. Sometimes they begin with a single conversation, a single smile, a single moment when someone chooses to see another person for who they truly are. For the billionaire CEO, that moment had already happened, but he was only beginning to understand how much it had changed him. Before meeting the single mom, his days had always followed the same pattern. Meetings, decisions, numbers, results. Every hour was planned. Every choice was calculated. His world was built around efficiency, but lately he found himself noticing different things. The sound of a family laughing at a restaurant, a parent holding a child's hand while walking down the street, a simple conversation between strangers. Small moments he once ignored were suddenly impossible to miss, and he knew exactly why. Because one person had reminded him that life was not only about what could be achieved, it was also about what could be felt. Meanwhile, the single mom continued living the same way she always had. She worked hard. She cared for her daughter. She made every decision with patience and love. She never expected anything from anyone. That was what made her different. She had built her life around giving, not receiving. One weekend afternoon, the CEO saw her again. This time, she was at a small community park with her daughter. The scene was simple. A mother watching her child enjoy a beautiful day. Nothing extraordinary, nothing expensive, but the CEO stood there quietly watching. He noticed the way she listened carefully to every little story her daughter shared, the way she smiled even when she looked tired, the way she made her daughter feel like the most important person in the world. For a moment, he forgot about everything else. His phone notifications, his schedule, his responsibilities, all of it disappeared, because he was seeing something he had been missing for years, a kind of happiness that could not be purchased. The single mom noticed him standing nearby. She looked surprised. Then she smiled. "Are you following us?" she asked playfully. The CEO laughed softly. "No, I promise." For the first time in a long while, his answer was not carefully prepared. It was simply honest. They talked again. This time the conversation felt easier, more natural. She told him about her daughter's favorite activities. She shared small stories from their daily life. And he listened, really listened. That was something many people around him rarely experienced. The CEO was usually the person everyone listened to, but with her, he was learning how to listen himself. After a while, the single mom looked at him. "You seem happier than before." Her words surprised him, not because they were wrong, because they were true. "I think I am remembering what happiness feels like," he replied. She smiled gently. "You should never forget that." Simple words, but they stayed with him. Later that evening, the CEO sat alone in his office. The city lights surrounded him. The same view that once represented success now felt different. He thought about the woman who had never asked him for anything, the woman who had no idea how much her kindness had affected him. And he finally understood something important. She was not changing his life because she was trying to. She was changing it because she was being herself. A person with compassion, a mother with a generous heart, a reminder that the most valuable things in life are often the things people give freely. And somewhere between a forgotten birthday cake and an unexpected friendship, the billionaire CEO had found something he never knew he was searching for, a reason to become a better man. Sometimes the people who change our lives are the ones who never realize they are doing it. The single mom had no idea how much her simple kindness had influenced the billionaire CEO. To her, he was still just a person she had met by chance, a stranger who seemed thoughtful, a man who listened when she spoke. She did not know about the companies he owned. She did not know about the decisions that affected thousands of people. And that was exactly what made every conversation with her feel different. She saw him without the weight of his success. She saw him as a human being. The CEO had spent years surrounded by people who wanted something from him. Opportunities, connections, approval. But the single mom wanted nothing. She offered kindness because that was simply who she was. And that realization stayed with him. One morning, the CEO arrived at his office earlier than usual. The building was quiet. The city outside was slowly waking up. He looked at the documents waiting on his desk, but his attention was somewhere else. He thought about a conversation they had shared the day before. The single mom had mentioned her daughter's birthday was approaching. She spoke about it with a smile, not about what she could not afford, not about what she wished she could provide. She talked about memories, a homemade breakfast, a handwritten card, a day filled with love. The CEO remembered that, because for him, celebrations had always been about grand events, large rooms, expensive gifts, perfect appearances. But she had reminded him that a meaningful moment did not need to be impressive. It only needed to be genuine. Later that week, he found himself walking through a local neighborhood. It was a place far away from his usual surroundings. No private meetings, no business discussions, no expectations, just everyday life. And then he saw the single mom. She was outside with her daughter, helping her prepare for a small school activity. The CEO stopped for a moment. He watched the patience in her expression, the way she encouraged her daughter, the way she celebrated small victories. There was something powerful about that kind of love. Not loud, not demanding, just constant. The single mom noticed him and smiled. "You always seem to appear at unexpected moments," she said. The CEO smiled back. "I suppose life has a strange way of creating meetings." She laughed softly. "That sounds like something a very serious person would say." For a moment, the CEO laughed too. A real laugh, the kind he had almost forgotten. They spent the next few minutes talking. The conversation was simple, but simple did not mean unimportant. She told him about her daughter's dreams. He shared a little about his own childhood, a side of himself he rarely revealed, not because he was hiding, but because nobody had asked in a way that made him want to answer. The single mom listened, really listened, and the CEO realized something. He had spent years building a world where people noticed what he had, but she was one of the first people who noticed who he was. That evening, he made a decision, not a business decision, not a financial decision, personal one. He wanted to help, but he knew there was a difference between helping someone and making them feel small. He did not want to take away her pride. He wanted to honor it, because the woman who had given him a new perspective deserved something more valuable than a simple gesture. She deserved respect. And for the first time in his life, the billionaire CEO understood. True generosity was not about giving someone everything. It was about giving them something that reminded them they were never invisible. The greatest acts of kindness are not always the ones that are noticed immediately. Sometimes they begin quietly, with a decision, with a moment of understanding, with someone choosing to care. The billionaire CEO had made his decision. He wanted to support the single mom and her daughter, but he knew one thing clearly. He could not simply walk into her life and offer a solution, because some people do not need to be rescued. They need to be respected. The CEO remembered the first time he saw her, standing in that grocery store, holding a birthday cake, making a choice that most people would never understand. She had given up something small for herself because her daughter mattered more. And that was the reason he wanted to help. Not because he felt sorry for her, because he admired her. A few days later, he found an opportunity to see her again. The single mom was attending a small community gathering with her daughter. It was a simple event. Nothing luxurious. No cameras. No attention. Just families spending time together. The CEO arrived quietly. He did not want to create a scene. He did not want his name to change the atmosphere. For once, he wanted to be present without being known. The single mom noticed him and smiled. "I did not expect to see you here." The CEO looked around and smiled. "Neither did I." She laughed softly. "That sounds like a very honest answer." And it was. He was beginning to realize that honesty felt different from the carefully prepared words he used in business. The two talked while their children enjoyed the activities nearby. The single mom shared stories about her daughter, the small moments that made her proud, the funny things her daughter said, the dreams she hoped her child would follow. The CEO listened carefully. Then he asked a question. What do you hope she remembers most about her childhood? The single mom paused. She looked toward her daughter. Then she smiled. I hope she remembers feeling loved. Those words stayed with him because they were simple, but they carried everything. The CEO had spent years creating things people could see: buildings, companies, achievements. But this woman was creating something invisible, a sense of security, a foundation of love, a memory that would last far beyond any material possession. Later that day, the CEO found a thoughtful way to help. He did not send expensive gifts. He did not make a public announcement. Instead, he quietly supported a local program that helped families in the community, a program that would benefit many people, including families like hers. When the single mom learned about it, she did not know he was involved. And that was exactly how he wanted it. For the first time, he understood that kindness did not need credit. It did not need applause. It simply needed to reach the people who needed it. That evening, the CEO looked at his reflection in the office window. The person staring back felt different. Still successful. Still ambitious. But no longer disconnected. He thought about the single mom. The woman who had no idea she had changed him. The woman who had reminded him that a meaningful life was not measured by what stood around him. It was measured by what he left in the hearts of others. And somewhere between a forgotten birthday wish and an unexpected friendship, two very different worlds were becoming connected. Not through money, not through status, but through something much stronger: human kindness. Some stories do not end with a grand moment. They end with a quiet realization, a moment when someone finally understands what truly matters. For the billionaire CEO, that moment had arrived slowly, not through a business deal, not through a major achievement, but through a mother who simply chose love every single day. The single mom never knew the impact she had made. She continued her life the same way she always had. She woke up early. She prepared breakfast. She helped her daughter get ready for school. She worked hard, stayed patient, and found happiness in the smallest moments. She never expected anything in return. That was the part the CEO admired most. Her kindness was not a performance. It was her nature. Weeks passed and their friendship grew naturally. There were no promises, no expectations, just two people from completely different worlds learning from each other. The CEO discovered that conversations did not always need a purpose. Sometimes they could simply be about life. The single mom discovered that behind the confidence and success was a person who also needed genuine connection. One afternoon, they sat together at a small cafe. Nothing about the place matched the world the CEO usually lived in. No private rooms, no formal meetings, no people trying to impress him. Just a quiet table by the window. The single mom looked outside and smiled. You know, my daughter thinks the best days are the simple ones. The CEO smiled. She might be right. She looked at him with a curious expression. That is a surprising thing to hear from you. He laughed softly. Maybe I am learning. And he was. He was learning that life was not a race toward the next accomplishment. It was a collection of moments. The moments when someone smiled. The moments when someone felt loved. The moments when a small act of kindness changed the direction of another person's heart. Later that week, the CEO visited the community center that had received support. He watched families spending time together, children creating memories, parents sharing moments that did not require expensive gifts or perfect circumstances. He realized something important. The single mom had never been trying to teach him anything. She was simply living with compassion. And sometimes the strongest lessons come from people who never realize they are teaching. That evening, the CEO returned home. His apartment was quiet. The city lights reflected through the windows. For years, that view had represented everything he had achieved. But now it represented something different. A reminder that success meant very little if it could not create something meaningful. He thought about the woman who had returned a small kindness to the world without expecting recognition. The woman who had placed her daughter's happiness above her own comfort. The woman who had shown him that wealth was not measured by what a person could buy. It was measured by what a person could give. The next morning, the CEO made a decision. Not as a businessman, not as someone with power, but as a person who had finally remembered what mattered. He continued building his company, He continued pursuing success, but now he did it differently, with more understanding, with more compassion, with a greater purpose. And the single mom continued being exactly who she had always been, a loving mother, a kind soul, a person who changed another life simply by choosing kindness when nobody was watching. But sometimes, the person who has the least to give is the one who gives the most. And sometimes one small act of love is enough to remind someone who they were always meant to become.